So today I'm going to make carrot soup because this is what I found with celery leaves. So I've got carrots, still dirty. I've got celery to have a bit of flavour, but also because, you know, since I don't have much right now, I'm just going to use the leaves as a garnish because they're absolutely edible and I don't see why we discard them usually. You know, got some garlic. Got some shallots. Have onions or shallots, you can have either. It's totally fine. And I made chicken a few days ago, and with the carcass I made a little bit of chicken broth. So I still have the chicken broth, which I'm going to use to my soup. But if you're a vegan or something, you really don't need it. So that's about it. Let's get started. Cool, so another thing I'm going to be using, hello, is olive oil, because first I'm going to saute my carrots into a bit of olive oil, so I'm going to put a little bit, like a couple of tablespoons, maybe up to 4, depending on how much carrots I'm using. And I'm also going to go and wash my carrots and my celery, especially now it's very, very important to make sure you work with ingredients that are, you know, very clean of dirt and bacteria and, you know, like anything else. Alright, so now that my carrots are completely washed, I'm just going to like cut them. And I'm going to pour them in the saucepan. As you can see, I'm not a chef. My cooking skills are pretty terrible, but you know, gets the job done. There you go. And again. And now I'm going to do the same with the shallots, the garlic, and a little bit of celery. With the celery though, because we're going to use the leaves, you know, for a little bit of garnish, I'm going to pick, you know, the best looking leaves, and I'm going to chop them, wash them, chop them, and keep them for later. I just need like two stems of the celery for my soup, not more than that, because I've got about a kilo of carrots, so that, you know, that's enough. These leaves here, I'm going to like set aside for later. Just going to put them in the bowl for now, and we'll chop them later. Yeah, so once I've peeled my shallots, Once I've peeled my shallots, I'm going to just, you know, slice them like that. And overall, it doesn't really matter how big or how thin it is because it's all going to be going. It's all going to be going in a hand blender afterwards. So, you know, whatever. By the way, I haven't showed my peeling the shallots because it's painful to watch. I'm still very clumsy, and you know, I mean, if you want to see me peel, you know, a garlic clove, that's going to be really painful, so I'm just not going to do it. And I can just chop it again, you know, I don't need to like mince it or whatever because it's all gonna go under a hand blender anyway. So I'm just putting it like that. I haven't turned on my heat yet just because I'm the slowest vegetable cutter in the world. And I want to make sure that all my, you know, my onions, my shallots, my garlic, my celery, my carrots all, you know, all fry. That I'm going to saute them all together. I'm gonna put them on maximum heat, but just for a little bit, and then I'm going to reduce it to medium-high, you know, once I cover it. I'm going to add a bay leaf. I don't really need to because the chicken stock the chicken broth I made already has bay leaf, but I love bay leaf, so I'm gonna make it. And I'm gonna put a few herbs as well. I want to keep it pretty neutral because there's chicken broth. I'm not going to add curry powder, but I also sometimes this is when I'm going to add curry powder for it, because I find that if you saute the curry powder, the flavour really comes out. But if I want a bit more of a neutral soup, so I can add whatever toppings afterwards, including curry powder, then it'll be easier. So if you can hear it, it's starting to bubble. So I'm going to start tossing it a little bit over there. and I'm going to cover it a little bit and reduce the heat slightly, so that basically it, you know, it sweats a little bit, so that the flavor comes out, so that the shallots get, you know, start to get a bit more translucent. And while I'm doing that, I'm also going to start cleaning my mess. Now you can hear it bubbly, maybe. So now I'm going to move it around a little bit. And now that my carrots and my shallots are getting in this translucent, you know, they've sweated a little bit, I'm going to add my stock. I'm going to reduce the heat first, you know, to medium, and I'm going to add my stock. It's very gelatinous. And because my carrots aren't completely covered by the stock, I'm also going to rinse it out, rinse out my jar to get everything I could possibly have with a bit of water. I'm just going to shake it like that, and like that I get everything, and I get a jar that's easy to clean later. So now that I've got it over low medium heat, I'm just going to leave that one to simmer. So now I'm going to leave it like this on over low medium heat for 15 minutes. Usually I put my spoon here because I tend to forget things, and if I close the lid completely, sometimes it just like overboils and there's like water absolutely everywhere on the surface and everything. It's not very pretty. So I'm just doing it like that, because if I don't cover it, then it doesn't cook as well. It takes longer, and there might be like too much water just like leaving. So I find that this is a good little trick. So yeah, it'll be ready in 15. So I've just checked. Look at that. Look at the colours, pretty. But I've just checked, it's been 15 minutes and it's not quite, you know, it's still, basically what I want is like when my fork, you know, gets in, I want the carrot to just, you know, whoopsie, to not resist as much as it just did. So I'm going to leave it a little bit more. I'm going to lower my temperature like to 3 and that's it. Yeah, I'm going to lower to like low heat, and I'm going to cover it again, and I'm going to leave it for 5 more minutes. Alright, if you hear the bell, it means that it should be ready. The extra 5 minutes are off, so we are 20 now. We're 20 now. So let's have a look. Let's check it. Yeah, we're getting there. We're probably just a minute away. So we're probably just a minute away from it being ready. Because I'm going to put it in a hand blender, so what I'm going to do is, instead of like taking it off the heat right now, the final minutes I'm just going to cover it completely and turn the heat off. So it's not boiling by the time we use the hand blender. If you're using a real blender, you definitely would want to leave it to cool for, you know, you probably want to like leave it to cool for a little bit more. Alright, now the moment of truth, or the moment when we turn those lovely cooked vegetables into a velvety soup. So we've got a lovely orange colour, you know, right there. And I like to keep it slightly chunky, but you can blend it a bit more to have something super velvety. And if you wanted to make something a bit more like a puree, basically, you just take a bit of the water. Personally, that's the texture. You know, that's the texture I personally like. So I'm going to keep it, you know, I'm going to keep it that way. But now it's almost ready. Before serving, the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to taste it to see if it's, you know, if it's the flavor balance I want, and it is. So for this one, I've added no pepper, no salt, because I find that it's always better to add them at the last minute, really. And you know, it's a little bit better for, you know, high blood pressure and these things. I've also got no spice this time. When usually I would, you know, I would definitely have a lot of spice, because again, some spices can be added at the very last minute. And so now I've got my bowl. I'm just going to serve, you know, a little bit. I've chopped some of those celery leaves, so I'm just going to sprinkle them on here, and that's it. And now it's ready to eat. So bon appétit.